coming of every electioneering period, the question of whether we are voting for leaders that are experienced or leaders that are educated is something that people tend to contend with often. At the heart of this motion today is this sort of dilemma, and the motion reads: academic degrees should be a prerequisite for all leaders seeking election to public offices. I read the motion again. Academic degrees should be a prerequisite for all leaders seeking election to public offices. Proposing and opposing this motion is Kyuso School versus Machakos Academy here for the Lower Eastern Region debates. All the best to both teams on stage. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Brian Zai from Kyuso School, ready to propose the motion that says academic degrees should be prerequisite for all leaders seeking for election to public offices. This is very true. First, we have to know what is academic degree. It's a qualification assigned to a student who have completed the higher education programs, either in colleges or universities. Once again, prerequisite, something required or necessary as preparation for something else. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon, I would like to say it's better for the leaders first to be educated, to have the qualities, to have the qualification, to take the offices, to lead the countries, especially in Africa and worldwide. Let us take an example in our country, Kenya. This country has got different tribes. And for only educated person, he is the one who is able to form a meeting here, because we have English and Kiswahili, which are set aside as the language, as official languages that are supposed to be used. And every Kenyan is supposed to be able to know at least Kiswahili and English to communicate. My first point goes, ability to communicate to public and unite the citizens. What if now we elect a Koyo person who was not educated, and yet you want to address the congregation of the country, whereby you meet Luo, you meet Kamba people, and this leader is not educated? How are you going to communicate with these citizens? You have first to be educated. You'll be able to communicate in English, you'll be able to communicate in Kiswahili, so that people may understand what you're saying. If you're a Kamba, you are the president, you are a Kamba, and you don't know the English and Kiswahili, and you call a congregation to address the citizen in Kenya, don't you think how many people you understand your Kamba, and yet there are a Koyo person there, a Luo person there, and he wants to know, you as a leader, what you want to communicate? So an educated leader is able to communicate because he is able to communicate in English and Kiswahili. And these two languages are set aside as an official languages. 2, ability to understand and respect the rule of law. Remember, in our country today, we are using democratic type of leadership, and also we are using a constitution. For only educated person, for only a person who have learned much about history and government of Kenya is able to use constitution to rule the country. There is no way you don't know about constitution and to lead a country like Kenya. You have to be aware about the constitution. And amazed. I am amazed today. I expected to meet school dropouts to discuss about this motion, to tell us the benefits that they have got out from dropping out to school and how they have planned to be the leaders of our country, Kenya. But I'm surprised they are learners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
According to Quora, even an illiterate person could be wise. My name is Anunda Melissa from the Machakos Academy School, and I stand here to strongly oppose the motion that states academic degrees should be a prerequisite for all leaders seeking election to public offices. According to Wikipedia, an academic degree is an academic qualification awarded to a student upon successful completion of a course of study in higher education, usually colleges and universities. I want to start by opposing the first proposer. He was talking about English, Kiswahili, and for example, a leader, the president is a Kamba, but he's leading people from different communities. Whatever you're talking about can be the languages are taught in basic education, and basic education is just primary education. But here we're talking about higher academic, higher degrees, higher education, which is usually in colleges and universities. So on to my first point. Most of the work political leaders do is just overseeing things that happen in the offices they manage. For example, let me ask you a question. If, for example, you have a farm at home and your parent tells you to go oversee the work that's being done there, are you trying to tell me that you won't be able to oversee simply because you do not have the degree? Another thing is, okay, for example, Aisha Jumwa, a cabinet secretary for public service, she dropped out of school due to lack of school fees, but look at her now. She's doing her work in the government very well. This just shows that it's not a must for one to have a degree so that one can become a political leader. On to my second point. Degree and formal education focuses on technical knowledge and does little in the way of moral guidance, which means it doesn't guarantee morally upright individuals, no matter the expertise gained. One might have the title doctor because of studying up to the PhD level, but if he or she lacks good moral values, then the title is basically useless. Why? Because if one has all those degrees and still goes to the public and is elected to the public government, and simply because they don't have the good morals, just shows that they'll just, if they want to, not if they want to, because they lack good moral values, they'll just swindle the money that would have been used for public service. On to my other point. Most of the degrees politicians have do not relate to the public offices and to politics, and they're still able to serve the public. This just shows that it is not necessary for one to have a degree to be voted into the government. There are politicians with degrees in other different courses apart from politics. Someone like Madam Tabitha Karanja, who's the Nakuru County Senator. She had a degree in business, but look at her now. She is a senator of Nakuru and she's doing her work very well. On to my other point. A politician can have the highest educational degrees, have studied in the best institutions, but it cannot be said that a politician can have the sense of judgment to understand and solve the problems of the common man. Being a good politician includes the ability to communicate well, understand, represent, and handle people. This is not gotten through education, but this is gotten through self-experience. And under Melissa, I close my judgment.
Thank you very much. Second speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, my name is Munyita David from the mighty Kyuso boys. First, I'd like to rebuttal what my fellow opposer just said. She has talked about Aisha Jumwa. What you don't know about Aisha Jumwa is that after dropping out of school, Aisha Jumwa went back to school after she got money to get her KCSE certificate. Go back to your research and do it well. Okay. We all know that there is always a difference between a leader who has a degree and a leader who has no degree. E.g., of leaders who have no degrees. And in fact, they led in public offices. The first example is Jacob Zuma, who was a president of South Africa. Imagine that Jacob Zuma was able to become a president without any degree. In fact, he was a school dropout, but became a president. And later, he was impeached. Why? Because he never ruled South Africa well. There's also another reason why he was impeached. There were allegations that Jacob Zuma had raped a woman. It is all over. Also, Jacob Zuma used the funds of the government for his own benefit. In fact, he built a large palace for himself. And when the government found out that he did that, what was done to him? he was impeached. Look at him. Right now he's in jail. Why? Lack of a degree. Why? Lack of education. Should we have leaders like that? Come on, should we have leaders like that? Leaders that lead us, and after some time, they are impeached and taken to jail. What is the benefit of them to us? Nothing. Okay, I have another case study of Barack Obama. Guys, when you bring Barack Obama here, and when you bring Jacob Zuma here, we'll know the difference of a well-learned person and the difference of someone who dropped out of school. Look at the achievements that Barack Obama brought to America. He was the 44th president and he was a non-American. Look at the honors that Barack Obama got. Look at the awards. Look at the Nobel Prizes. He also got an Oscar for being the first non-American president of America. He also had many degrees. In fact, he was very well learned. Go back and do your research because I think I should be talking to school dropouts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Second speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
No qualification barrier should stop anyone from becoming a politician. My name is Joan Dongo from Machakos Academy. I want to decline what you've just said about Aisha. She's the Minister of Public Services in Mombasa. And she was elected as a politician while she was uneducated. Yes, she went back and got her high school KCSE certificate. But here we're talking about academic degree from universities, not high school. On to my first opposing point on this motion that states academic degree should be a prerequisite to election public offices. Spare me. The educated hide behind their qualification in order to further their agendas, but someone who is uneducated has no option but to deliver to the people, to prove himself. I mean, these people that have high education, they come and they will give you a lot of money. But these people who are uneducated, they will do something with that money that they're supposed to give you to develop the country. But what are these educated people doing? They're giving you money. Why are they giving you money instead of trying to develop the country? I don't support this motion. On to my second point. The educated can tend to favor others, elites in their government, not considering other people who cannot be able to do with their changes, so they don't give room to the poor to deliver their grievances or changes. Right now, in the current politics that we are hearing right now, taxation has been raised. And it has been raised on basic needs. Basic needs like food. Right now, wheat flour is 1 kg is 200 shillings. And there is someone who works in one day, they earn 100 shillings. So they have to get this wheat flour, and they still have to eat it with another vegetable. You can't tell me they'll eat wheat flour alone. They won't cook wheat flour only. They'll have to eat it with something else. Meaning this 100 shillings is supposed to care for their food. Also, they have children. There are some with children. And you can't tell me this 100 will feed the whole family. On to my second point. Leadership. I mean, every job needs a qualification. But leadership is not a job. It's more than that. Leadership is an urge to serve your nation. You should be sincere to serve your own nation. And you should have qualities and be optimistic to the development of your country. So I am not supporting this motion. Join me to decline academic degree to be a prerequisite to public offices. Thank you. Joanne Dongo, Machakos Academy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Team Proposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hilary Ngumbao from the Might Kyuso School. Off to my first opposer. He spoke about the first language. Let me ask you a simple question. When you were born, what was your first language? Your mother language. I don't want to know if it was English. I don't want to know if it was Kiswahili. I don't want to know if it was Kamba. I don't want to know if it was Gikuyu. First things first, that basic knowledge of knowing Kiswahili or English, you must have it from the academic, you must have it from the lower classes. That is primary, secondary. You cannot go to university without passing through primary and secondary. Off to my second opposer. He spoke about Aisha Juma. Let me ask you a simple question. Why did she go back for the certificate? Why did she go back for the certificate? Think of that. Let me start off with my first point that says, these learned leaders are role models to our future generation. Isn't that true? Are you agreeing with me, the audience? Let's take, for example, Nelson Mandela, a very well-learned leader. He led this country very well. People, our future generation is trying to become like Nelson Mandela. And that's why education must, and that's why academic degree must be useful to the politicians who want votes. Off to my second point. Having an academic degree makes you look at things, issues from 3 dimensions. First, one is not narrow-minded, very well. Our former president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he was not narrow-minded. He opened a way of introducing a new traveling method in Kenya, the SGR. If he was not educated, it means that the SGR will not be there. Okay, supporting my point, one is able to analyze, think about things, issues matter critically, soberly, intelligently. A literate person and a illiterate person, they're very different people. A literate person will take and solve a solution step by step and figure out what the solution is. An illiterate person will just come up with a solution that doesn't even satisfy to be a solution. Supporting my point, enables them to have a wider spectrum of looking at things, like someone with lower levels of education. As I conclude, I would like to say there's room for the proposer side. Come and join us before we come out of this room crying and sobbing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Team Opposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, like whensoever we talk about companies like Microsoft, Apple, we always say that dropouts or backbenchers too can lead and innovate. Why can't politicians? To rebut back on my opposing side, he has said that when you are born, you don't have the education on English or Kiswahili. Okay, let me tell you, it's not a must for you to have wide terminologies on English or Kiswahili just to prove to the people that you are learned. Okay, you can go to areas let's say, people do not know how to speak proper English. Will you tell me you have to address those people with that English? Will you go to them with that English? No, you cannot. You cannot go to talk to someone who knows mother tongue, and maybe that your mother tongue can help you to go and talk to those people. Please, you cannot tell me that you must know English or Kiswahili terms to go and talk to people. And let me tell you something also. Academic degree doesn't make you feel good. It makes you feel superior. Okay, if you haven't gone and learned to, okay, yes, you may have the academics, but it will make you look superior when you're in those public offices, and you'll see people who do not have education is just pathetic people who cannot offer you anything. Like, you'll just give yourself an ego and say, I have academics, why should I work hard? Or you see, these people will not work hard because they know they'll have academic degrees to support their motion. Like, sir, you mean to tell me that that ego will make you serve the people who are looking up to you to serve them with justice, yet you look down on them because you see they cannot offer you help. And plus, let me tell you, illiterate people can make a difference in this world because they'll have to earn their position in that public office. Because an illiterate person will work hard to prove himself worthy to his people. And he will work hard to make sure that he has gotten that title that he deserves. And on to my first point, education can never be criteria to decide who can lead us better sometimes. It's just not your intellect, but your attitude and presence of mind, which can prove to be of real help to help to people. Because obviously an illiterate person, when he gets into a public office, he will make a difference in these offices because he will have to work hard to show these people that it wasn't because of his illiteracy, but he worked hard. Because you can't tell me academic can teach you responsibility. Where were you first taught responsibility? When you were young. When were you first taught honesty? When you were stealing sugar in your mother's cabinet and you had to hide and pretend that your mother told you must be honest, you must tell the truth always. But a literate person, yes, you have the academic, but do you have honesty and responsibility? Do you? Okay, you can tell me, yes, these leaders want to make a difference in our country. With all that education, they are not giving any difference because we have given them a lot of opportunities to prove themselves, but they cannot. An example is Joseph Munjika. He was the former president to South Africa, and he gave 90% of his salary, yet he was illiterate, and he was nicknamed a lame president because he was illiterate and he did not know how to use public funds. Because these literate people know that their funds, they use it for their personal benefit, but he used it to make a difference in South Africa. Please, I am strongly opposing this motion that you require an academic degree to help people, yet with that academic degree, you're only profiling yourself and you're only doing this to support yourself. Thank you. I am Faith Macau from Machakos Academy.
Thank you very much. We will be taking closing remarks. Team Proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remarks.
Thank you. Once again, it is I, Munyithia David. Too much English. Too much. Please, talk to us. Convince us of leaders who have done it without a degree. Is there any leader right now in the government, in the public office, without a degree? None. Is there any president, any, without a public degree? None. Thank you. Please, don't be narrow-minded to a point in such that you are talking about leaders talking to the people in their own languages. Please, there are also international summits, national summits, where that leader is required to speak to the audience, to speak to his country or her country in English. English. Will that leader without a degree or the leader who has never gone to school or the dropout leader speak in English? No, he won't. An example of Idi Amin. Idi Amin was a ruler of Uganda. And after he was impeached or after he was out of his seat, he left Uganda in a bad shape. And you can see right now, Uganda has no democracy. Change that.
Thank you very much. Team opposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Okay, it's me once again, Faith Makau from Machakos Academy, strongly opposing this motion. And I said, according to both of our definitions about academic degree, it gives students upon successful completions. And of course, a study, especially in university or colleges. And I say that English and Kiswahili is not taught in colleges, and it's taught back in your primary school. Why aren't you not taught in primary school how to speak in English? Even the first time that you joined pre-unit, why aren't you not taught to speak in English? That's the first thing they wanted you to know, English. Underline that. And also, Joseph Musika led South Africa from the year 2010 to 2015. He was not impeached. He decided to resign because the people thought of him as a lame president, because he didn't have an academic degree and he was using his 90% of his salary to help the poor. So you mean to tell me that are there any leaders who are willing to give you 90% of their salary to change your lives? Leaders are just taking that money for themselves. So you cannot tell, I have never seen a political leader taking his money and giving it to the people for their own personal benefits. So I strongly oppose this motion. Thank you. I am Faith Makau.
Good. Style and presentation, tick. Passion and conviction, tick. Coherence of argument, a fair tick. But we'll need to work on mastery of content, research. Very, very important. Apart from coming up with an argument which is logical, it needs to be backed up with examples, global examples, regional examples which are well tied to the motion at hand. That bit did not come out so strongly in both teams, but my able judge is going to comment, my colleague judge is going to comment on that. Let me go one-on-one, beginning with the proposers. Brian Nzai, you had a clear definition of terms, but then you did not give us solid examples of countries where leaders with academic degrees have actually stood out big time. That needed to be brought out. Academic degrees should be a prerequisite. So as a proposer, as a first speaker, that bit should have come out very, very clearly. Then Daniel, you had a fairly good rebuttal. You spoke about the KCSE certificate, which was well rebutted by John, because here we're talking about degrees. You tried to give some examples of leaders who led without degrees by mentioning Jacob Zuma. Are there other examples that you could have brought on board too? Because you're talking about academic degrees should be a prerequisite. Academic degrees should be a prerequisite for all leaders. Academic degrees should be a prerequisite. I'm repeating this motion because this was one thing that you were supposed to bring out clearly in your arguments, where leaders have stood out in terms of management by virtue of having degrees. That bit did not come out so solidly, and it needed to be brought out. Hillary, you have a powerful voice, a strong sense of appeal, but we still go back to the quality of research. We needed you to give us examples, more statistics of leaders who have academic degrees and have made it out big time in their governance. Machakos Academy, you all have a very strong passion and conviction in what you're saying. But I'm again going back to the quality of research, supporting the points you say with the facts, with sources, where information has been gotten from. Melissa, you began with a good tact. Even an illiterate person could be wise. That was quite good. And then you went ahead to give us some examples of leaders who don't have degrees and they are fairly done well, like Aisha Juma. I wish you could have gone ahead and bring out examples like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, even Paul Kagame of Rwanda. He only got a distinction in high school, but he's doing something in Rwanda. Abraham Lincoln is a very influential figure in history. So the quality of research needs to be worked on, but I liked the bit of you being very confident. And please avoid too much reading. When you read, it works on your mastery of content, it works on your style and presentation. John, good rebuttal. You brought out that bit of Aisha Juma that we were talking about degrees. A very passionate debater. I wish you could have done more rebuttals as the second debater. But generally, you're a very logical debater with a lot of potential. Faith Makau, another very passionate debater, good use of verbal and non-verbal cues. You brought on board the bit of we should be focusing more on morals. We should be focusing more on responsibilities. Somebody who can be able to run the show by virtue of them being morally upright and not necessarily having the papers. That went home so well. However, I wish you could have again gone ahead and give us more examples. Now, there is something you said about Joseph Muchika being a president of South Africa. Please go back and do your research well. This was the vice president of Zimbabwe, not South Africa. Blacks who have led in South Africa include currently Cyril Ramaphosa. Before that, we had Jacob Zuma. Before Zuma, we had somebody called Galema, then Thabo Mbeki, then Nelson Mandela. So let's do our research well because we're also very keen on this side. Generally, you guys have quite some potential. If we proceed to the next level, please work on the remarks made and we'll be home and dry. Thank you.
I will keep emphasizing on what I've been saying because I'd like all of you to look at it this way. In this debate, it's like you're in a boardroom trying to convince someone about the side you're on. So if you're going to convince anyone, if it's a change for policy, if it's a change, whether in government or in NGOs or in the corporate world or even in school, you need to show them proper research. If I tell you that this is working, it needs to be proven that it's working. So I'll still go back on consistent evidence, relevant examples, and as Jomo has said, globally, regionally, and even from Kenya. That's how people change their minds. I had something that I'd like the proposer side to go and check, which is Barack Obama is non-American. He's American, he's just an African American. So he's not non-American. You cannot be elected in America if you're not
a US citizen.
Yes, so he is an African American, not a non-American. From the opposer side, I think what stood out for me was, first of all, these ladies are on fire. They're very passionate. However, there was a reference on people being illiterate, and not having an academic degree does not mean that you're illiterate. It just means you just never went to college or on campus. Because some of the examples that you've given us, there are people who went to high school, there are people who went to primary school, and that doesn't mean that they are illiterate. It just means they do not have an academic degree. Otherwise, more examples, more relevant examples, and having the right research done. All in all, I felt this was a very good debate, and may the best team win.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please, for our judges. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this debate, and I know the audience is waiting very eagerly to know who is taking the day. Therefore, I will go straight to the results. And the judges have awarded, with Machakos Academy 64%. A round of applause, please, for Machakos Academy. And the judges have awarded Kyuso boys with 63%. A round of applause, please, for Kyuso boys. And the winners of this debate are Machakos Academy. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of this debate here at the Debate Circle. Remember to check our social media handle for more of this content and debates on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and a bit of Threads and TikTok at the Debate Circle. I have been your host, Jane Cheng. Until next time, it is goodbye from us.